friends, it's Marie here again from Nicole Designs. I'm sharing this die set today. This is a gorgeous die set designed by Becca Feeken, and it's part of her Candlewick series of dies. Now this is available at Spellbinders, and you can see it comes with these 3 different dies that all layer together. I'm going to be making a 6x6 card today. This is a different size than I normally do. I normally do the A2 size cards, but I wanted a larger size card so that I can show off this full die because it's so gorgeous. This is their, I think their doily die is what it's called, but I thought it looked kind of like a snowflake, so I thought I would go ahead and make a Christmas card with it. Now what I'm doing here is kind of lining it up, trying to eyeball it, make sure it's in the center, and I'm taping it down before I run it through my Spellbinders die cutting machine. I just want to tape it down to make sure it stays where I want it to go, and then I can run it through my die cutting machine. Now this one is very detailed, so what I've done is I've run it back and forth through my machine several times just to make sure it die cuts every little part. And if you find that it doesn't cut out everything, it's really easy to kind of nestle that die back into place and run it through again. And usually when I do that, I get all of those little pieces to poke out really easily. So I'm using my tool-in-one here to clean up my die. These detailed dies, sometimes the paper likes to stick in there, and this tool-in-one is really handy for brushing out all of those little pieces or poking out the ones that are stubborn and just don't want to come out. So now that I've got that die all cleaned up, I've also cut it out of another piece of paper so that I can layer it on top. I think that's just going to make this design stand out a little bit more. You can also kind of offset it so that you get a fun design in the background, but I'm going to go ahead and layer it right over the top. Before I do that, I'm going to make the background that will be shining through my die cut window here, and I'm going to be doing this using some Nuvo Glacier paste. Now this is their color Frostbite, and Glacier paste is slightly different than their glitter paste. The glitter paste is a little bit thicker, it's got more chunky glitter in it. This one almost has more of just a shimmer to it, so I think the Glacier paste is really a great name for it because it gives you that more of a subtle shimmer. I'm just going to go ahead and add this with a Nuvo brush. I'm just brushing it on my background. I am doing a tone-on-tone thing here. I'm putting this blue paste over some blue cardstock, and that's just because I really want the blue, but I also want it to be really shimmery. So I thought I would get a better blue color putting it on colored cardstock than if I tried to color on white. So that's why I'm doing that, and it's really going to make it shimmer and stand out behind my shaker window. So you can see all of that shine on my paper. Now if you're using a brush like I did, just take it to the sink, rinse it out, let it dry, and you're good to go. So all of that shimmer is going to shine through my little shaker window here. I've just got a piece of plastic that I'm trimming down to glue on the back side of my window. Now the plastic I use for my shaker windows are just 12 by 12 plastic scrapbooking protector sheets. I don't do a lot of scrapbooking, so I use these sheets for my shaker cards. I just trim them down. I use a little bit of liquid adhesive around my window, and then I'm going to stick that plastic on there and let it dry. I like to use the liquid adhesive because you can use tape runner adhesive, but I find that the liquid adhesive gives me a little bit more flexibility to put that adhesive where I want it to go, right around the window so it stays. You could also put some of that liquid adhesive on the middle circle part there and on some of those fine detail lines. I forgot to do that, but it would have helped it be a little bit more secure. So now that I have that all glued down, I'm going to go on to the next part, which is adding foam adhesive. So I have a bunch of foam squares, and I'm going to use those to just layer around this die cut. Now you could cut the center out of this little snowflake or doily. I chose not to because I wanted to put some foam adhesive behind that circle center to help just stabilize this a little bit. And if you wanted to use a longer foam adhesive like the Scotch foam adhesive, you can do that as well. Cut long strips, peel the backer off, and then you can mold it around your window. I used these squares. I don't know why. They were just there, sitting there, and easily accessible. So I decided to take the time to put a bunch of foam squares together to make sure they were touching, and then peel off the backer of each individual one. I do not like this detail work. I would recommend the long strips of foam adhesive, but it worked, and I had this foam adhesive sitting around that I could use up. So I've got my foam adhesive ready to go. I'm using some confetti pieces and some sequins from Nuvo. These are big enough pieces that I wasn't afraid of them falling between the cracks of that foam adhesive, because I did put them together, make sure I closed most gaps. There are some tiny gaps behind that foam adhesive. So if you're using fine glitter, do not use the square foam adhesive technique. You will make a mess everywhere. But if you're just using sequins and things, you should be fine. So the easiest way I found to kind of fill my shaker windows when I'm doing it this way is just to add a little pile of the shaker bits onto my card front, and then I put my window on top of it. I'm making some room in the middle there because I know I have 2 foam squares in the middle of my card. I'm just going to line these up and adhere it down. So I'm just kind of eyeballing this, getting it lined up with that piece of cardstock in the background. This piece that I'm putting on top of my 6x6 card is 5.5 by 5.5. So I've got a good border around the outside from my card base. So I've got this adhered down. I'm going to shake it up, get all of those shaker bits all mixed up and shimmery in the background, and I am just loving how this little snowflake or doily die is looking. I'm going to go ahead with my tape runner adhesive now and adhere it down to my card base. Just putting tape adhesive all around the sides and some in the center to make sure I have it adhered down well. So here's my 6x6 base. If you're making a 6x6 card, the way I do it is I take a piece of 12x12 paper, I just cut it at 6 inches, and then you can fold it in half for a 6x6 card. So that's how I make my card bases, or there are different places where you can buy ready-made 6x6 card bases. So I have this all on here. I have matted it, centered it, and it's on my card base, ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and decorate the front and add a sentiment. Before I do that, I'm going to add this other piece that I've die cut. This is actually some white pearlescent paper that I've cut out, and I'll have links down below to all the different products that I've used, so you can go check it out if you're interested. This is just some pearlescent paper from Craft Perfect. I've die cut this so that I could layer it on the front and just make this doily snowflake stand out a little bit better on my card. Putting some liquid adhesive all around the outside, and I'm just going to layer it on top of my window and adhere it down. Like I mentioned, you can kind of turn this and offset it if you wanted to, get a little bit of a different design, but I really just loved this doily piece as it is, so I want that to kind of be the focal point of this card. Once this is all adhered down, I'm going to add my sentiment. Now I have these little alphabet pieces here, and this is actually alphabet die cuts from a steel rule die from Spellbinders. Now this steel rule die that cuts out these alphabet letters, this die is 8.5 by 11. It's a huge die, and it cuts a whole sheet of paper at once. It cuts the whole alphabet and numbers. So if you run it through your die cutting machine, you're going to get the whole alphabet, and if you need multiples of letters, you can even run 2 pieces of paper through at once. I've done it. It works. These steel rule dies are really great for cutting out all your letters. And then you have ready-made letters for any of your projects or cards you want to throw them onto. And these steel rule dies also cut other materials. You don't have to just cut paper. You can cut some thin wood, even fabrics, metal sheets, or magnet sheets. So there's a lot you can do with that steel rule die. I'm adding a supporting sentiment using a sentiment that I foiled using the November Glimmer kit from Spellbinders. This Glimmer kit I've already used. I'll have a link to where you can see the video where I've just glimmered a bunch of sentiments that I have ready to go. So I just cut this word sending from another sentiment and I added it onto this card. I love that I have glimmered sentiments ready to go with November's Glimmer kit. I'm just going to finish this card by embellishing with a little bit of Nuvo jewel drops. And these jewel drops, at least this one, dries translucent. And this is Sea Breeze. So it gives a little bit of embellishment, but it's not in your face. So it'll dry sort of translucent and look like little jewels or even dewdrops on your snowflake. And I don't know if you can see it very well, but in real life, I think it looks fantastic. I'm really loving the monochrome look of this card. And you all know from my crafting, I like my white. I like my white and my pop of color, and that finishes the card. So I hope this has given you a lot of ideas and inspiration of building your own Christmas shaker cards. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them down below. Also, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Just do all the things, and I will catch you guys next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.